Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the working session of Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. The reason for tonight's meeting is a discussion on the public safety building and the updates for the council. At this time, I'll turn the mic over to City Administrator, Ms. Brzezinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. So just to kind of get things rolling, welcome this evening. Appreciate everybody being here. We have a pretty full agenda, even though it's one subject, like the mayor said, our public safety building. So it's a standalone meeting. We've got a lot to talk about. Probably be a few numbers, so we want to have that focus tonight and make sure that our city council has a chance to ask questions and we can answer those questions hopefully tonight. So along with city council and city staff, we have some guests. Adolfson and Peterson, Widseth, Brunton are all three here. Remember, they're consulting on the project. And then Kevin Gray from St. Louis County is here this evening, so we'll have a chance to talk to him a little bit too. So we'll do a little bit of a look back to try to bring everybody up to speed. We'll talk a little bit about where we're at right now. And then we'll do a little question and answer period for the city council, and then we'll talk about next steps. So no action will be taken tonight. We'll leave that until the next regular meeting. But with that, I will have Ginny come up and we'll get started.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Ginny Schneider. I'm an architect with Brunton Architects. The last time we were in front of you all was in July of 2024. At that time, we had completed an existing facilities evaluation of the fire station and police department facility shared with St. Louis County law enforcement. We had done programming exercises with both departments to determine their required square footage for a new facility. We performed site investigation on various properties around the city of Hibbing, including the one we're here to discuss tonight, and we produced a feasibility study report comprising of all of that information. And so you see on the screen here, we got to the level of block diagramming stage when it came to space planning and allocation, and this is in reference to the Public Works property. Since that time, we've had a successful referendum vote in November. We've developed engineering narratives for all of the engineering disciplines for a public safety facility project: structural, civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering. We've onboarded commissioning agents as required by the Department of Administration, required for the funding that's been allocated to this project from the state of Minnesota. Progressed their required submittals for the Department of Administration and B3 process as well. And then we've completed schematic design for an addition, public safety addition to the Public Works facility that we'll be reviewing here today. So the schematic design that we've developed since those block diagrams that you saw earlier includes a 3-story facility that is an addition onto the east side of the Public Works facility. The lower level of that facility is about 16,000 square feet, would be comprised of squad car parking enclosed underground, impound and evidence storage for the police department, and miscellaneous storage and mechanical and electrical support spaces to serve not only the addition, but the existing Public Works facility. The first level floor plan includes just under 40,000 square feet, and our design goals are to minimize the footprint as much as possible and make this a compact and efficient building. But the first floor is pretty essential to a lot of different spaces, including having a public entry for the community, multi-purpose and training room shared by both departments, fire and police administrative office spaces, both wanted to be on the main level and accessible to anyone from the public coming into the facility, additional evidence storage, police locker rooms, a shared fitness room, a sally port and holding space for the police department, ambulance and apparatus space for the fire department are on this level, along with fire command vehicle bays, a hose and training tower, and associated fire decontamination and support spaces for those vehicle bays. As you see on this plan here, the blue on the plan shows police-only corridor spaces, so access control would be implemented throughout the plan. Red indicates fire-only space within the facility, and the yellow are combined or public spaces that are shared. And then second level is primarily for the fire department, just under 6,400 square feet, comprised of fire bunk rooms, day room, locker rooms, and that hose training tower, as well as a mezzanine for additional storage and potentially training. And here's an updated exterior rendering as the plan has evolved and the design has evolved, similar to what you've seen in the marketing material that we produced last July. The goal of the building is to construct it out of architectural precast concrete, very durable, low labor requirements, all prefabricated, and longevity of the foremost thought there, in addition to steel-framed roofing. And then just today, we had a design meeting with the building committee and developed some interior renderings. Want to bring the exterior of the design into the lobby, want to provide a warm and inviting space for the public to come in, referencing Hibbing's industry and history, and still make it just a welcoming space to bring in the public. You can go to the reception desk and get access to either department on either side of that space, or have somebody from either department come up to greet you. And a few more images of that space as well. There's room for displaying memorabilia for both departments in that lobby on either side there. Here's looking out to the entry. The shared multi-purpose space, again, trying to maximize as much as we can within the square footage we have, could be shared by both departments, and both have their own individual storage spaces off of this room. It can be configured in multiple ways, has ample IT and technology support. And then if we do decide to use this facility as an emergency operations center, it can accommodate all configurations of seating, up to 60 seats within the space, down to 32 seats in a bullseye configuration. A few other interior images. This is the squad room on the police side. We're considering, simple design yet functional is the goal. Having the wainscoting and durable wall covering on the bottom, it helps protect the facility with duty belts and such, and scuff marks, and getting beat up in those corridors. And then the fire day room. Here's our initial design concept image. We want it to feel homey and welcoming, but also feel like a fire department, have space to relax, space to gather, bring families, and also carry the design intent through into that living space. They have visibility into the apparatus bays there as well through those windows for that visual connection. 3 refrigerators, 3 pantries for their 3 shifts, which they don't currently have. And they were very excited about when we talked to them about that today. So a few more images of that. Preliminary design still at this stage. We're still receiving feedback on all those materials, and it will keep evolving as we continue through the design process. The site plan, and this is still concept and being worked through by engineers, is shown on the screen here. The yellow is the proposed addition. It does include demolition of part of the St. Louis County space that they occupy currently. The addition, like I mentioned, would be to the east. Public entry is on the south side there, with separate parking for the public on the west side, secure parking for both departments on the east and the north. Big piece of the work that we've been doing over the last several months has been digging deeper into the Public Works building and the site. So some of the work we've completed lately to do our due diligence on that site was completed a site survey, locating the grades and utilities on the property. We've completed a structural engineer's evaluation of the existing roof. We've engaged a geotechnical engineer to do soil borings. The last soil borings were done with the 96 edition, but we are expanding on those and confirming what was completed when they put that addition on. And they mobilized here yesterday and today, so that's just getting started. We've engaged a hazardous material investigation firm that will be starting their evaluation here in the next several weeks. And then we've determined a deferred maintenance outline for the existing building. With that deferred maintenance evaluation that we conducted between architectural and the engineering disciplines, we've determined several updates and that would need to be required for the Public Works building in order to put the addition on. Some of these, though, would have been needed regardless of the addition at some point, or would have needed to be considered. One of those is to relocate the existing mechanical and electrical equipment. The portion that we are proposing to demolish on the St. Louis County building, it does include the mechanical and electrical rooms. So in order to maintain operations for the city, Public Works, and MnDOT departments, we would need to create a new mechanical space for those to continue. We would need to relocate their bulk oil storage and their compressor into the part that is to remain and reconfigure a little bit of space within that existing building. A big piece that needs to be considered is a roof replacement. The majority of the existing building has not had a roof replacement since 1996 when it was constructed, although a portion was done in 2011. The roof replacement, additionally, I'll expand upon that, with the structural evaluation that was done on the existing building. It's currently a ballasted roof system, which is, there's rock up there holding down the roofing membrane. Does not comply with current building codes for snow load. And so the way to not only update the roofing system, which hasn't been replaced since 1996, would be to remove that and install a fully adhered system. It would lessen the load on the existing roof and not require additional structural reinforcement to bring the building up to code, if I explained that correctly. So the roof replacement is a big piece of this. There is water coming into one of the south repair garages that is currently occupied by the city. Waterproofing to that exterior foundation and drain tile would mitigate that concern. A portion of the central repair garage is currently not fire sprinkled. The rest of the building is. And in order to bring that up to code, it would need to be added to that portion of the building. Several of the fire-rated doors are not currently installed, and we will determine if any hazardous material abatement is required once we receive the results of that study. So these are all updates that our team deems required and necessary updates to the Public Works building, not only because of the addition, but because of the deferred maintenance on the building. A few other recommended updates that we determined include a replacement or commissioning of various mechanical equipment around the building, rooftop units, exhaust fans, and makeup air units. And we have an itemized list of all of that. An office renovation on level 1 could be completed in order to accommodate the new use of the facility. A new exterior entry to the Public Works building. It is dated and there's some rusting on the exterior walkway coming into the facility. We could also paint the existing facility to blend it in architecturally and aesthetically to the addition. And the wash bay on the north side of the building, we're told, is sometimes operational, sometimes not, and does have overhead doors that are rusting out. So updating that equipment to make it more dependable and useful would be encouraged. So a few photos of the deferred maintenance. This is the Public Works entry. You can see some of that rusting and chipping of the sidewalk. There's an image of the exposed foundation and waterproofing on the south side. Here's that ballasted roof on the existing building that I mentioned. If that was all removed, it would reduce the load on the building significantly. On the county garage portion that we were proposing to demolish to construct the addition, there's a lot of concrete spalling and exposed reinforcing within that garage that would need to be repaired regardless of this project if you weren't to remove it. So there are a few images of that there on the garage side. And then on the right-hand photo, there is the wash bay that I mentioned. And so the building committee, the design team has all concluded that there is, despite these findings, great value to this property and to this site. It is highly visible to the community, which is a huge benefit when looking at your first responding team having access to the public, to those resources, and it consolidates all three of those city operations to one location. Response times and access to the belt line there would be ideal for both fire and police. You have the ability to secure the site. Most of the site is currently fenced, and we would modify that slightly to accommodate the addition. And you have the ability to expand as well, which is currently limited for both departments. And so I'll ask Greg to come back up and talk a little bit about where we are at with the acquisition side of this location.
And before I do that, I'm just going to springboard off of what Ginny was talking about when it comes to the value of the site. Visibility was a high priority for us, staff and city council. I think our residents, if you took a survey, they would say visibility of this new facility is very important to them. We're also trying to consolidate our operations. Remember, we've got our fire department in one location, Stunts Garage, and some of these other facilities. So we also think that's a top priority to try to concentrate those operations. The response times, remember we did some heat mapping a year or two ago. Very important to us to be able to respond to those emergencies, fires, ambulance responses, et cetera. So with that, so acquisition of the building, remember we have two partners. The city is a partner, the county is a partner, and MnDOT. There are three partners in that. So we've talked extensively to the county, so much so that I think the county administrator at one time had me in a full Nelson trying to get me to like capitulate on my offer, but we did come to some sort of a conclusion and an agreement that we'll try to memorialize by the end of the week into next week. But the county does have a plan to divest of that property. They would like to build a new facility. They have been fantastic to work with, what a true partner is. So they are also working to expedite their plans when it comes to their new facility. And what we did is we started with an appraisal. The county did an appraisal on the property, and then we followed up and did our own appraisal, and we kind of melded the two together and tried to come up with a plan to move forward. Kevin, if you would like to say a few words about that, we certainly would love to hear from you.
Well, first of all, I do want to rebut the full Nelson comment because it was the other way around. I thought I had him pinned. Hello, I'm Kevin Gray, St. Louis County Administrator. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I think your consultant team, architects, have covered it very well, and certainly City Administrator Brzezinski has done a great job of kind of stealing all my speaking points. But I would say that we've been looking very aggressively since the city approached us, and probably in hyperdrive since the successful passage of the sales tax going forward. So first of all, congratulations to you as city council members and mayor and administrator. This is a lot of work and a big undertaking, so thank you for your vision on behalf of the residents that we share as constituents, but certainly the residents that you support. This is a big undertaking, and seeing that sales tax pass, that referendum pass was a big deal. So congratulations, and we look forward. As Greg has said, we've been talking quite a bit, especially again since the passage of the referendum. And we're committed to a couple things. One, accelerating our discussions and next steps around where our campus, our facility would need to go, given that obviously the city of Hibbing will be using the balance of the space. As Greg mentioned, we've had very good constructive discussions around this, and it is a bit of a complicated model with kind of a legacy issue of 1/3 ownership by 3 entities, state, county, and city, and we're navigating it very well, and I hope and trust MnDOT will do the same, working with the city. We'll figure out that number and how to make that happen, but more importantly, we've been doing 2 things. I want to inform you that we've looked and determined future site options for our new facility. We've identified a financing plan and model to support that. We are issuing an RFP in the coming several weeks for initial design services and what we're going to do with our facility. We are commencing discussions around the financing aspect of it, and interestingly, using a transportation sales tax to support the financing of this facility that's so critical to our road maintenance and operations. So we've been very successful in bonding in the past to accelerate projects, primarily road projects. This project will be to accelerate, obviously, a facility that will support our road network maintenance and safety and operations. Again, as Greg mentioned, we've, despite the wrestling match, we're still talking with each other, and I think we'll come to a conclusion. I know that Mayor Hajduk has met with myself and Commissioner Jukovic, as well as with Greg, had very productive discussion, and Commissioner Jukovic does extend his, 1, congratulations, but 2, just would have been here tonight, but is in St. Paul with the opening of the legislature, that kumbaya that they're having down there in St. Paul. He's there to help accelerate the dialogue between the parties and the aisles, so across the aisle. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Actually, the Minnesota Chamber's having a dinner tonight, and they're getting a lot of updates from the legislature, so that will be interesting, and I'm sure we'll all be watching the progress or lack of progress down south. So with that, I would just say that, again, we've got sites identified. We're accelerating our design rollout plans. We'll be getting in front of the board for the financing aspect of it. And most importantly, I think in the short term, the immediate term, is that we're working with your staff, with Greg and his team, and several of the individuals who are here tonight to accommodate the transition, the demolition. We'll be having to consolidate space, move people around, park some trucks outside, whatever it's going to take. But we're committed to helping you keep on a very robust timeline and to support your construction build-out and addition. So once again, congratulations. And I like the partner reference from Greg. I 100% agree. It's been a very productive discussion, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your interjection as well, and your team.
Thank you, Kevin.
If there are any questions, give a shot. I can save for those too, but
Any questions? Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you, Kevin.
So again, thank you to St. Louis County. We're not quite as far along with MnDOT as St. Louis County, but we will report back to the City Council as those discussions progress. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna pitch it to you for a moment. I know that you had a few things you wanted to say about the location. So maybe this is a good time for you to just kind of weigh in on process, what we've talked about. I know that you've advocated for that location, so.
Yes, thank you, Greg. You know, I think that was the number one question once we started going after a sales tax referendum, was what is going to be our location? And I think it was important, one of the things we identified with both the fire and police that our distance of travel for responding would be about the same. Attaching to our Public Works facility, I think, brings all our resources together. It's a very positive situation, and of course, as Mr. Gray had just said, we've had great dialogue with the county. We're starting the dialogue with the state, and I think it's just a perfect location as far as space, as far as response time, and we're excited to move forward. And I think the people that we have spoken to, that I personally have spoken to, that have reached out, I have not heard one negative comment regarding that location. So I think that's what's most important, and I think Chief will note that most of our responses are within a certain area of the city. This keeps that same response time the same. So that was one of the things we were looking at, and I think we've come to that conclusion. We're moving in the right direction, and I'm excited to see us bring it to fruition.
Good, thank you. Councilors, any questions before we move on kind of to the next piece? Or city staff, anything that I missed? Okay, super. So moving on, if we can go to the next slide. So our recommendation will be to move forward with the preferred site. We know there's some deferred maintenance. We've talked about that a little bit, and we'll kind of get to the costs here associated. In addition to that, assuming we move forward, we will then suggest to the city council, we will divest of the current fire station and the stunts garage. There are a couple of other properties that we think could fit into this project. It's a little bit longer term, but we can kind of get to that here after a while. Remember, our police department is located in the St. Louis County Law Enforcement Center, so there are some offsetting costs over there. Again, it concentrates our operations. We think that's an economy of scale. And then, were we going to talk about those buildings right now? And
I think so.
probably the next.
If Sheena has any comments.
So, Sheena, if you would start with the 4 buildings that we talked about earlier and what that means to the community when it comes to the city or the HPU moving off the sites and getting those back on the tax rolls and why that's important to us. We know our city council is very sensitive to that, so we wanted to address that. We've been talking about it. So maybe start with the 4 properties that we're referring to and then kind of what that means financially.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The 4 properties that we talked about was, if you remember a while back, we bought the Nortec building as an alternate site for this project, the old Hibbing Electronics building. Then we have the current fire hall. We also spoke to the PUC mechanical building that's at 3027 on the Beltline, and then the Sun's Garage, that if we start divesting of some of the properties, that, as you know, if properties are owned by the city for government purposes, they're tax exempt. So therefore, they would not be generating any tax revenue. So I did pull up these 4 parcels and looked at the tax statements, and the estimated market values on them are just under they're about $2.24 million. So that, at a tax rate of 2%, if a commercial industrial project were to buy those, would generate a tax capacity of $44,770 per year, which would help with covering our levy going forward for additional spend or projects. So generally speaking, trying to consolidate our services into one place, it makes less of our property tax exempt and opens up other properties for sale. Is that everything, Greg, or you want me to cover anything else?
That's perfect. And even though, I mean, we've had high-level discussions with the Public Utility Commission about, you know, what's your long-term plan, and could this be an opportunity for us to like join forces, so to speak, and be located on the same property. So we're just trying to get out ahead of that, give our city council and our residents an idea of what that could mean, what that could look like financially, but also, again, freeing up some of that property to get it back on the tax rolls when it comes to a commercial use. So I think we're moving on to the next section.
That's me.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Patrick Sims from Adelson and Peterson Construction. I'd just like to start off real quick you should be very proud of the staff you have working on this project. It's been tremendous to work with them, really good people, and they always have the city's of Hibbing's best interest in mind. So I just want to start with that. We get into a little bit of the project phasing with the project that we're looking at with the addition to the Public Works Building. We have the project approach right now for bid package 1, phase 1, is to basically cut loose the existing portion of the building that would be demoed. And that is more on the mechanical electrical side. There's some accessibility concerns as well. But basically we need to free up the demo portion of that of the project, which is the area you see in gray there. Basically, like I said, it's mechanical electrical items that need to get shifted over. The majority of the mechanical existing systems are in the existing portion that's going to be demoed. So we've got to get those over into the new or the existing building and cut that demo free. So that's phase 1. Phase 2 then would be the demolition of the existing portion that's going to be removed. That would be a very surgical removal from that building. Obviously, as it's attached to the existing portion that's going to remain of the public works. So very strategic demolition for phase 2. And then phase 3 is the big portion. That is the addition where we would the building demolition be complete. We do excavation of the lower level, set up soil retention system, and then begin construction of the addition to the project. So that's phase 3. The project, and with that, there would be some of the deferred maintenance items if those chose to move forward. They would be at the same time as phase 3 would be progressing. And then phase 4, which phase 4, this area here is the existing building that's got some renovations planned, remodeled areas to accommodate some of the staff remaining in that building from the county and whatnot. The phase 4 could be under construction at the same time as phase 3. We're just keeping this as phase 4 just to keep it separated out. So we've pulled together segregated budgets. We have the main addition as one number. That's the numbers you see in front of you on page 1, which is just the summary page of the estimate that we prepared. And then we've got the bid pack 1, phase 1 separated out, which would cut the existing building free that's going to be demoed. And then we've got the deferred maintenance, and then we have just a general list of soft cost items that is be associated with the construction of the new and also the deferred maintenance. So the first summary page you have is the addition itself. Keep in mind that we have a design contingency and a construction contingency included in that number. That number is just above 29 million. I know it's kind of hard to see on the screen there. That's why we handed out the full pages there so you can see those numbers. So we're just above $29 million for the addition of the new public works building. And then we've got the next one is the phase 1 work, again, which is the cutting free of the existing portion that's going to be demoed. We're at about $890,000. Again, we're carrying design and construction contingencies on those as well. And then the next number is the deferred maintenance. Those are the updates that are the urgent or the items that need to be addressed probably sooner than later. We've got a price tag on that of just above $3.4 million. Again, design and construction contingencies included. And then we've got the second list of deferred maintenance, which again is some of the other items that Jeannie mentioned. Some of the items that probably aren't as urgent, but should be addressed at some point at just above $1.6 million. And then again,
Pat, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
As long as you're, all the deferred maintenance, it's on the existing buildings, of course. What's the cost savings by doing this at the same time? I mean, I know we have our original building, which is gonna cost, you just projected at about 29 million.
yep.
Is there a cost savings for combining this and having this all done at the same time? Because your contractors are on site
Yep.
versus phasing that additional repair work or
Yep.
refurbishing of the existing.
Yep, that's actually another slide that's coming up here, but
Okay.
I'll go ahead and answer. But yes, there is savings to the project now to do those, do them at the same time, yes.
Very good.
We say in the construction industry, construction was never as cheap as it was yesterday. So
Yep.
it's going to continue to get more expensive. We're going to continue to see escalation. It's going to continue. So yes, yep.
Very good.
The next slide here is just a list of soft costs that we've associated and put numbers to as well, and for each of the addition and phase one, as well as the deferred maintenance. So from a summary level, we're talking project costs. We got the public safety addition with the addition total at just above 29 million, and again, phase one at 890, and then we've got the required updates at 3.5 million. Again, there's contingencies included, just above $3 million on that work, on the public safety addition. And then we have the public works maintenance, or the deferred maintenance, where they're required at 3.4, they're recommended at 1.6, and then we've got soft costs and land acquisition costs, or the building acquisition costs at 1.8 million. And again, we've got $403,000 of contingency on top of that as well. So I'll note too that the soft costs do include a 5% owner contingency on the soft costs. So if any of those budgets are realized to be more, whatever, they've got some cushion in the soft costs as well. So. So that's where I was getting to the cost consideration, inflation of steel, concrete, labor, economy of scale. If we've got a contractor that's doing work on the addition, and there's deferred maintenance that contractor can do, there's economy of scale for purchasing materials, labor, and those types of things. So, and then also the winter conditions that we can try to save by sequencing the work when the contractors are there. So there is cost consideration to take into consideration for sure. So. One thing that we were talking about today is the deferred maintenance, and regardless if the public safety building was going to be connected to this or not, the public works building still needs the deferred maintenance. Those costs are not going to go away. They need to be addressed. And actually, the deferred maintenance costs could be on the higher side than what we're talking about here if the portion of the building that we're going to demo for the public safety stayed in place, because there are repairs that are needed. And you could easily say that's going to be another $2.5 million. So the deferred maintenance costs are there, and they're not going to go away even if the public safety is not attached to it. So.
What's the life of the deferred maintenance? Once the deferred maintenance is done, what do you see as the life of that effort to upgrade?
It depends on what, we're talking the roofing, we're talking a 20 to 30 year warranty, somewhere in there, depending on the manufacturer and stuff like that. The structural steel reinforcement, I guess, for snow loads and stuff like that, that's the life of the building for the most part. The mechanical, electrical, again, they're probably a 10 to 15 year lifespan for the mechanical equipment and stuff like that. So, a building always takes some maintenance through the years, but with the work that's projected to be done, your deferred maintenance costs year to year is going to be significantly less. And actually, for the first couple of years, you may not even see any maintenance costs until you get a little further down the road. So, questions?
Any other questions?
Next step.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Before you go,
Yeah.
Patrick, so our recommendation is going to be to move forward with construction of the building, the bid pack one, but also, could you just at a high level kind of go over how we could do some of the other pieces like the deferred maintenance? There's a list of things that really have to be done ASAP. There's a list that we're suggesting that we go ahead and move forward with. What does that look like when it comes to bidding?
Sure.
For our city council, but also our residents probably want to know that. So.
Yep, sure. Yeah, so the deferred maintenance, if the project moves forward, takes the next step, those items can be bid out at the same time that we're bidding out the addition. So if we're bidding out bid package 2 which is the bulk of the public safety addition, if we're bidding out the roofing, we can bid out the roofing of the deferred maintenance at the same time. So again, we're taking advantage of economy of scale. So we'll strategize the bidding of the work for deferred maintenance and the addition at, either in conjunction with, to make it the most efficient, most cost-effective way of bidding the project. So I know that Brunton Architects and Widseth will include those items in the documents, and again, we can bid those out at the same time, so.
Very good.
Thank you, Patrick. So we are to the place on the agenda, City Council questions and answers. So what questions do you have for us? Hopefully we can answer tonight. If not, we certainly will do our best to get on top of those questions and get those answered for you all. And while you're kind of thinking about that, I know we have some folks that had a family emergency, so what we'll do is we'll reach out to them with our slide deck, and we'll offer to them to come into City Hall. We'll go through the slide deck, we'll explain all the nuances and all the different bits and pieces and whatnot. So I just want the City Council to know our City Council will be fully informed on this. So with that, what questions would you have for us?
Greg, I'll start. Couple things. Of course, we're trying to acquire the building. That's one component. 2 is the new building, which would be the addition, and 3 is the updates on the existing building. We set a budget of about $30 million through our sales tax and what we got from state bonding, which doesn't cover some of the costs of additional costs of updating and purchasing. What are we looking at doing regarding how we want to fund that from a financial point of view? Upgrades have to happen, as was just mentioned by everybody in this room as they spoke, but how are we looking at, so the residents know the approach we would take in funding the additional costs besides what we're bringing in with tax revenue and state bonding?
Great question. And there are multiple buckets that we will be pursuing. And I want to make sure that I mention, this hasn't been nailed down yet,
Right.
but these are the things that we'll be pursuing. So the first thing that I would mention is federal earmarks. Remember, those earmarks, they like to fund things that are bricks and mortar, which this would be. Excuse me. In addition to that, those earmarks like to fund the gap to get these projects done. So earmarks would be the first one. Second one, deed and or IRRB funding. The third item that I would point out to the City Council and our residents would be, remember, we still have another partner in the ownership of the building. Deferred maintenance is coming due. They would be paying a portion of that. But then, of course, we would have some of our local resources that would have to be dedicated to the existing facility. Those are the 4 buckets that come to mind. 5, I guess it would be little. But the point is those would be the dollars that we would be pursuing.
All right, thank you. Councilors, any other questions?
So that being the case, next step, January 22nd, we will seek the City Council's commitment to go out with bid package 1. Assuming the City Council signs off on that, that bid would be, bid package 1 would be released on the 5th of February. So those will be the next steps. Did I miss anything?
One question, how far, we're further along with the county discussions on the building. When's your future plans for the state discussions?
Great question. Now that we have a pathway forward with the county, that's where, excuse me, that's where I'll focus my time is engaging with MnDOT. I think we've had 2, maybe 3 discussions. We've talked to some of the folks that are more local. We've talked to some of the MnDOT folks that are the higher level decision makers. So we'll kind of bring those 2 groups together and see if we can get a pathway forward.
Counselors, any other question? Greg? I thank you for your presentation today and everybody in the room today for bringing the council up to speed, and also the general public that has an opportunity that's watching tonight or can watch in the future. It's exciting to be moving forward. I mean, this was started about 4 or 5 years ago when the council made it the #1 priority. And, you know, to where we are now compared to 4 years ago with referendum passing and state bonding is wonderful. One other question I might have, that people have asked is, what is the status of when the sales tax would go into effect?
Mayor, councilors, the sales tax, everyone within our city limits would receive a letter from the Department of Revenue before, they were hoping before the end of February, and then it would go into effect April 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, Greg?
We can adjourn?
Closing, we can adjourn?
Yep.
All right, at this point, I will close the working session. Thanks, everyone who was here today.